admitting everyone now. Lovely. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight, and thank you for your patience in the waiting room while I admitted you. Welcome to this evening's Avid Reader Zoom session. Tonight, as you all know, we have Claire Christian in conversation with Kay Kerr for the launch of Kay's novel, Please Don't Hug Me. I'd like to begin this evening by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which I am broadcasting from, the Yagara and Turrbal people. I pay my respects to elders past and present. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Just some quick admin before I hand over to our speakers for tonight. It's just a reiteration of the information that I sent you in your email with the link to this evening's event. We're a very big group, so as I mentioned in the email, in order to reduce the potential for any disruption, you've all been automatically placed on mute and you'll remain so throughout the evening, but I will unmute you right at the end so that you can say thank you for this event, for the speakers who've joined us tonight. Later in the evening, we may have some time for audience questions. If you do have questions for Kay, then please type them in the chat box. Your messages will all be sent directly to me and I'll read them out along with your name when I'm prompted to do so. If you drop out of this session for any reason, you can use the same link that you used to join this time in order to rejoin, and I'll make sure that I readmit you as soon as possible. The same goes for any of our speakers tonight. If we have any connection issues, which we've been lucky enough not to have yet, we'll take a short break, I'll readmit whoever has dropped out, and then we'll resume the conversation from there. So I would now like to hand you over to Jane Pearson, who is a senior editor at Text Publishing and works on YA and adult titles. So Jane, please take it from here.
Well, hello everybody, and thanks for joining us all here. We've got a fantastic big group, and that's really so exciting. As Emma Kate said, I'm a senior editor at Text Publishing, and I've had the very great pleasure of working with Kay on this beautiful book that she's written. And of course, we're here tonight to celebrate this book arriving in the world. Today is its birthday, I guess, but it first arrived on my desk quite some time ago, along with goodness knows how many other manuscripts. And I can't tell you the excitement I felt the minute I started reading. There is such life in this wonderful character that Kay has created in Erin. She's really funny. She's so adorable. I just want to hug her. In fact, there are times where I sort of find myself thinking about her even now and being surprised with that realization that, oh, she's from a book. It's not somebody I know. She's just that real and wonderful. And she just springs to life off the page. She's fantastic in her particular issues and responses that are just so particular to her. But I know that this story will resonate with all teenagers because so much of her experience is universal. I certainly remembered a lot from my teenage years, that's for sure. And I found myself cheering for Erin and cheering for Kay. What a spectacular debut she's written. We have on our hands here tonight, I've got to say, not only a great book, but a truly great new voice in AusYA. Kay, you've really done a spectacular job. I'm so proud of you. I'm so pleased to have had the opportunity to work with you. And not only am I so thrilled, but all of Text, we're so proud to be publishing you and this book. I've got to say it's very weird. This is not like any other launches I've done, but also really quite quite fantastic, the online launch. I'm pretty sure we wouldn't fit this many people all into one bookshop. I'm also able to be with you in Brisbane while I'm freezing down here in Melbourne, hence the woolly jumper, while everybody else looks really comfortable in t-shirts and things. It's a really weird time, of course, and we're all experiencing a lot of challenges. Books and writers are so important right now. So we're all thank you and applaud you, Kay, for your new book, your new contribution to this really important part of life. Everybody needs to be reading, and now is no different. In fact, I'm sure a lot of people are reading every more, and bookshops, as well as our writers, need our support at the moment more than ever. So, in typical fashion at a book launch, of course, you're all here because you're interested in the book, or you love Kay, or both, of course. I really want to encourage you to buy this book. I know you'll love reading it, so please buy one. They'll make great gifts. Mother's Day is even coming up, and I know Avid are doing this fantastic deal with gift wrapping and a personalised note. You'll find out all about it on their website, so do take advantage of that. But hop online. Avid are doing a great service too for people in the local area, where they're all jumping on their bikes and they'll write out and hand deliver it to you, which is just so fantastic. Really sort of warms the spirit, I think, to know that. They'll also deliver all over the country, so there's really no reason not to have your very own one of these, and I'll tell you, you'll enjoy it very much. Now my next little job is to introduce another very, very special person, another text author, I'm very proud to say. She's also a Text Prize winner for her wonderful YA novel, Beautiful Mess. Not only that, she's got another novel coming out this year. It's been a pleasure, Noni Belake, and I know that will be an absolute pleasure too. Claire is also a playwright. Excuse me while I just check the details here. She's had 3 plays published by PlayLab, and her play Bloom was shortlisted for the Griffin Award in 2009. She's one of YWCA Queensland's 125 leading women. She's also a Queenslander, and on top of all that, an all-round just fantastic person. So I'd like to hand over to Claire Christian. So Claire.
Hi everyone, thanks Jane, you glorious woman. Texters are so beautiful. It's such a good family to be a part of. And Kay, it is my bloody privilege to officially welcome you into that text family this evening. As we launch your debut novel, Please Don't Hug Me, I thought I might start with a bit of a rundown of what it is so everyone knows. It is a funny, serious, own voices story about Erin, who is in her final few months of school and who's having to navigate a lot of the big, messy things, which for Erin, who is autistic, is a big issue. So she starts writing letters to Rudy, her older brother, who left a year ago as a way of kind of trying to make sense of everything. What I loved about this book is that Erin is so entirely real and so authentic. And because the book is written as letters to Rudy, over the course of a few months, you feel like you are intruding sometimes. You feel like it's too intimate and that you shouldn't be privy to this information, which I think is just a credit to you, Kay. It is a beautiful look at what this young person is experiencing in this moment in time. And I think it will make young readers feel really seen, and older readers feel nostalgic for their own adolescence, the good bits and the horrifyingly cringeworthy bits as well. Plus, it's really funny. I mean, the first chapter, this is not going to ruin anything for you. The first chapter of the novel begins with Erin having to deal with someone who has pooed in a change room at Surf Zone, her job. So, I mean, what's not to love about that? The Love YA community is a glorious community to be a part of. And when Text asked me if I would read the book to provide a quote for the top and to launch tonight, I was obviously thrilled. I'm now going to read Kay's bio so you know about her a little bit more. Kay is a former journalist and community newspaper editor from Brisbane, now living on the Sunshine Coast with her husband and daughter and working as a freelance writer. Kay was writing the first draft of Please Don't Hug Me, her first book, when she received her own autism-spectrum diagnosis. I wish we could hear you clapping because that's what we're going to be doing now for you, Kay. Yay. Hooray. The book, baby, is launched. It is in the world. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. I'm feeling a little bit like I haven't talked to very many humans in the last 6 weeks because I've been at home with a 4-year-old. But this is kind of a nice way to do it for me. I'm sure I would have been so much more nervous to be at Avid and in front of a massive crowd of people. So, yeah.
Beautiful. So we're going to jump right in. The first question I want to know is, where did this idea for Please Don't Hug Me come from? Where did Erin come from? How did it even begin?
Yeah, so I don't think that I went into it thinking I'm going to write a book and this is what it's going to be about. It was definitely more voice driven, I guess. So where I was at the time was working as a community newspaper and not being very well fitted for that position, and I wasn't sleeping that well. So instead of going to sleep, I would just sit at my computer and I was sort of led by this voice, and I was writing just little snippets of, I guess, thoughts and lots of feelings, and I would just add to that sort of every night, and it eventually became this like 30,000 word document of no discernible plot, not really much happening, not really many other characters, but it was just lots of feelings. And then I kind of worked back from there and read widely in YA to have an idea of what else was out there and what standard of work a book needed to be, I guess, to be published. And then from there, I guess, I figured out the plot points and the narrative arc and the other characters.
Had you read a lot of YA or been interested in YA before this beautiful 16, 17-year-old character voice appeared in your sphere?
Yeah, I've always read YA. I think I love coming of age stories, I felt. And I wrote this in my mid-20s, so I feel like the things that I was sort of struggling with in that age were still really tethered to the things that I struggled with as a teenager. I felt like it was really, those emotions were really accessible to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was the writing process like then once you kind of had your 30,000 words and you were now committed to writing a novel?
Yeah.
What was that process like for you?
Well, I didn't tell anyone about it for starters. I just felt like it was this secret thing that I did that was just for me and nobody else. And it just felt like a weird thing to be telling people that you're writing a book when you didn't have an idea of where it was going or what it was going to be. So it was, I guess it was really like instinctive process where and so I didn't do any plotting at all. And in hindsight, I probably would do that. I wouldn't recommend going about it how I went about it. But the words came really easily. The character, like it was, I haven't been able to replicate this process again since. It was really flowing. And yeah, I guess I had a lot of feelings about that age and that time frame where you're in the last 3 months of school.
Yeah.
You've got all these major life events that are happening and you're just trying to get from one to the other. It's like QCS and formal and exams, graduation.
Huge. It's a huge moment.
Yeah. So yeah, it was getting it to the standard where I felt like I could show anybody that was hard, and that was where I kind of, I guess, stripped it down. I started from the beginning and rewrote it, and then started from the beginning and rewrote it and rewrote it and rewrote it until what was on the page, I guess, resembled what was in my head and what I imagined that it could be.
And when did you decide to show it to someone? Who was the first person you gave it to?
I showed my husband Arthur first and didn't really tell anyone else about it, but I'm pretty sure Danielle, who's my agent, was literally the second person to read it.
Amazing.
Yeah, I got pregnant after soon after I'd finished maybe my 5th draft or my first draft, and I thought it was this amazing timeline where I was like, I have 9 months and I'll be able to get it up to scratch and I'll submit it before I have a baby and it will be perfect timing. And then I had hyperemesis gravidarum, which is like vomiting every day for 9 months. So I didn't even look at it or think about it or go back to it until my daughter was 1.
Yeah,
and,
wow.
Yeah, something about the loss of self or changing of self that comes with motherhood, it felt really vital to do something with it, and that really motivated me. And from there, I went down to Melbourne and I went to a YA masterclass that you spoke at. Heaps of amazing YA authors spoke at that, like Vicky Wakefield and Simone Howell and so many. Yeah, so I took heaps from that, and then I think a month or 2 later, I went to the CYA conference in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And it was meant to be like a 10-minute. Danielle had read the first 10 pages, I think. And I worked myself into such a nervous state about having to pitch and do the elevator pitch and how hard that was going to be. And then I just sat down and Danielle just said, I've been waiting all day to see you. I love it. Give it to me. And that was it. So it turned out
amazing.
To be, yeah.
As she should, because it is amazing.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I want to talk to you about the big moment, or kind of a big moment that happened for you personally as you were writing with your own diagnosis, and that how that came about.
Yeah, so I think somewhere in that sort of initial 30,000 word draft, that was, I wouldn't call it first draft, and that'd be a bit generous, but I went on a holiday to go and visit my family in Ireland, and my cousin and I had this kind of amazing spur of the moment girls trip to New York, because it's quite a short flight from Dublin to New York. And it was like shopping and eating at restaurants and going to Broadway, and it was amazing. But I had a really intense sensory reaction to that city, because it's everything. It's lights and it's sounds, it's smells, and it's people on top of people. And I just didn't sleep for sort of 3 or 4 nights. And I knew I wasn't anxious. It wasn't an anxiety reaction. It was a real, like, I can hear the electricity and the lights are too bright kind of a feeling. So once I got back from that trip, I started Googling just like sensory overload, sensory issues, and came across some women who had adult autism diagnoses. And once I started reading what they had said about it, it just clicked into place. And I really knew, even though it took sort of months after that and, you know, lots of money and appointments and that kind of thing, I think I pretty much knew.
Yeah.
And so that was amazing. Like, I hold that trip so closely in my heart, because it was such a life-changing self-realization.
Yeah, I bet.
It also meant, once I'd processed that for myself, I kind of looked back at the manuscript and went, that's what I'm trying to write. She's not, like, I was thinking that it was this socially anxious and awkward character. And then once I knew that about myself, I went, that's what's going on. Even though the things that she struggles with, being on the spectrum, I guess, end up being a little bit different and yeah, not quite the same as me. But yeah, that's when I really felt like I had fuel to rewrite it and finish it.
Yeah, I love that. And that things became possible for Erin because what had become kind of clear and possible for you. Yeah. I want to talk about Erin as a character, because she is fantastic. And I wanted to kind of hear your thoughts about her and her journey or her arc, or what was really important for you in kind of creating her, and what you wanted her to be like, I guess.
Yeah, so, you know, when you read a YA book and there's like a character, usually female, and she's just like, she's really morally upright kind of character, and she stands up, you know, against the bullies, and she always does the wrong thing, even if, you know, not what her friends are doing. I wasn't that person in high school at all. So I wanted to write a character that wasn't that person, that wasn't, I guess, as confident in themselves to always do the right thing or make the right choices. So I thought I was writing a really unlikable character. I really thought I was writing, and I love unlikable characters. So I thought that's what I was writing. But I think that probably reflected my own views of my own high school experience. And so once I got around to processing all of that through my diagnosis, I realized how much fun and like how funny and awkward and silly and hilarious I could make Erin, and also I guess balancing that with all of the feelings, all the feels.
All of the feels that happen when you are in high school, which are, yeah, perfectly catchy, particularly that last few months, which is what she is navigating as well. The book deals with a heap of themes and issues. Friendship, particularly female friendships when you're teenagers, grief, living with a disability, adolescence and growing up, isolation and feeling alone, even online communities and the access and inclusion that those spaces provide, which are all incredible things we need to be talking about. Did these, or are these issues particularly important to you? Were they things that you really wanted to kind of capture in the novel, or they just happened based on the plot and kind of Erin's journey?
I don't think I went into it writing that I was like thinking that I was going to write to, you know, teach anybody anything or to talk to any particular themes, but what came out in the work was obviously things that I feel strongly about, and things that I wanted to address in some form. And even theme-wise, you know, Jane and Danielle have both pointed out themes to me that I didn't necessarily realise were in the writing until, you know, I had that hindsight or a fresh set of eyes to have a look at it. But there was lots that I wanted to talk to, and I think teens now are more savvy and more politically engaged, and I wish I'd been thinking about all of those things at that age, but
and as I thought it'd be interesting, as your book is written entirely in letters, to ask you who you would love to receive a letter from, and it could be anyone.
Yeah, I feel like I should have a really clever answer for that, like or something. But my granddad has been a pen pal of mine since he lives on Ireland and I live in Australia, so I've been getting letters from him since I was a kid, and I've loved that. And I think I have two grandparents that I never got to meet, so maybe either of those or both of those grandparents would have been awesome just to get to know.
Yeah. Mine is the same. My nan, who passed away when I was little, but she's the one that most of my family is like, you're a lot like her. That, or obviously getting your Hogwarts letter would be nice.
Oh yeah, I was obsessed with that for 8 years or more, however long those books came out for.
And I want to talk about you as a teenager and your teenage experience, which we've touched on a little bit, and how would adolescent Kay feel about this right now, knowing that you have written a novel?
That's a good question. I was a lot of things as a teenager. I think, trying to find my place and trying to figure it out. So I think teenage Kay would probably think that I was a bit of a square, that I disappointed that I don't drink and don't have more tattoos. But I always loved reading, and I think I was really disengaged in high school from I didn't have that one English teacher that really inspired me or showed me that being an author was something that was possible. So I loved reading. I think I'd be really happy. I think she'd be thrilled. The idea of being happy with myself and doing something that's really creatively fulfilling would be awesome.
And did you want to be a writer when you were younger? Was that something that you had worked out?
I did when I was really little, like really, really little. I was always writing books, like from as soon as I started school, maybe before. Like I remember I wrote this truly, truly awful chapter book when I was maybe 7 or 8. And it was about this girl whose family won the lottery and she moved to France and bought a mansion, and it was just wish fulfillment. And it's ridiculous, and it was like a reverse Little Princess with no moral. It was awful. But I sent chapters of that to my granddad and to my family in Ireland, and I was writing all the way through primary school and even in early high school, and I think I just disengaged by the end of high school. So yeah, and I think like art as a career was never something that our high school really encouraged. It was very much if you like writing or if you're good at writing, you become a teacher or you become a journalist. And I literally think that I became a journalist because a careers counsellor quiz told me that that was going to be a good idea.
Yep, good.
Yeah.
Which is a good segue, because I want to talk about your kind of writing career, which you were, or still are, were a journal, worked for newspapers and were a journalist for magazines. What does writing now or as an adult and throughout your career mean to you?
Yeah, so I mean, there's like journalism, I mean, it's not objective. Journalists like to say that it's objective, but there's still, you know, an element of deciding who you're going to speak to and where a story gets in the paper, and who gets a balance of opinion. So that felt very removed from anything that I was, you know, after creatively. But I've kept diaries and I've always kept writing even outside of that. And so, and as I sort of moved through journalism and as I got to edit the paper, I guess I got to decide what issues I wanted to address, which in a small community was really great because you saw tangible evidence of how your work could improve a community at its best. So I'm a lot happier now that my writing isn't my full-time job, so that I have more space, I guess, creatively to explore it, because I think otherwise I would be exhausted from writing, you know, writing a day and not have any space left for writing for myself.
Yeah, because when you make your hobby or the thing you love your job, it's a strange balance. And what do you hope that readers, hopefully all 180 something of you that are in the room with us who buy the book and then read the book and love it, what do you hope these wonderful people take from Please Don't Hug Me?
I hope people like it, for starters. I feel like giving your time to a book at the moment, there are so many things competing for that time with, you know, and TV and everything else that's going on. So I hope that it's worth the while. I hope that it starts, I guess, some more conversations around support and accessibility. I hope that autistic kids pick it up and read it and love it. That would be the number one thing that I would like to come from it. And people that have an autistic kid in their life, maybe read it to get a better understanding of how some of these things can play out, and that, you know, it's just one story and one example, but if that could help anyone in that way, that would be awesome. Just to teach, you know, or remind us to be kind, a little kinder, because everybody, you know, the inside of everybody's head is different and can be, a challenge.
A good perspective, I guess. Yeah, an acknowledgement of who they are and perspective of how to be with other people. Yeah, that's beautiful. What are you reading at the moment?
I'm having a hard time finding time to read at the moment because being on lockdown with the toddler is really, really, really busy.
Yep, I imagine.
Yeah, and hearing about people reading all of these books, you know, a book a day, some people are doing, and I just think that's amazing and that blows my mind. But I just finished Exciting Times by Anisha Dolan. She's an Irish autistic writer. She's been called the next Sally Rooney. It's kind of a new adult, I would say, book. That was really good. And I'm just about to start Anna Waitley's Peter Lyer's Rating Normal, which is another autistic, neurodiverse, love Oswaye title, which came out on the same day as my book, which I think is amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, two different stories that can both exist in their own right. I'm excited about that.
When we had a chat yesterday, we were talking about how interesting it is that these two books came out on the same day, dealing with kind of different aspects of neurodiversity, and how incredible that is going to be for these young people, or maybe not even young people, but people who maybe feel that they haven't been represented in mainstream literature or in our kind of zeitgeist before, and now here we go to female-led novels.
The first time I read a female autistic character written by a female autistic author was Helen Hoang, is that her name? The Kiss Quotient, and
yes, yeah,
it's like a really steamy romantic book, and I was just pulling my eyes out crying because of the validation and the feeling of being seen, and I feel like that was not what she imagined her readers would be feeling when they read that book. But yeah, it was big.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the feedback that you're going to get, Kay, in the future from this. It really thrills me to kind of know what the future response to this is going to be. I wanted to have a chat about the Love Oz YA kind of community and how that has been kind of, do you feel welcomed into this club that is quite unique and special?
It's been amazing. You would know, obviously, but everybody has been so welcoming and so supportive, and buys each other's books and reads each other's books and supports each other. And I feel like there's not many places that you can go when you're on the path to publication if something's not amazing to say, oh my God, this is really hard. Because most of the people that you would say that to might go, oh yeah, it's really hard getting, your book published and your dream come true. But there are things along the way that are, disappointing or frustrating, or you're just not getting the communication that you expect, or something's not landing how you want, and having people to talk to about that and who get it and have advice and have funny things to say about it has been so uplifting.
Yeah, if you are not all following the hashtags LoveOzYA on Twitter, get on board, because the content is absolutely worth it, I think. And what are you working on now? You're like, Claire, don't ask me that. I want to have a break and enjoy my novel coming out.
No, so I went to Varuna. I got a fellowship to go to Varuna.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I went there at the beginning of March. I think I got there on the Monday, and the Friday that I was there was when they officially declared COVID a pandemic. So it was a really strange time to be there. I think they closed Varuna the week after.
Yeah, wow.
So that was kind of felt like end of days, to be like locked up in this big, beautiful old house in the Blue Mountains while the world falls apart around you. But that kind of fueled me, I guess, because I knew I was coming home to lockdown, and I didn't know how much writing time would be in, the next however many months were like this. So I was working on another YA, so a little bit, I guess, lighter, but I don't want to use the word lighter because that makes it sound like easier, or I guess a bit romantic, but another sort of awkward coming of age, funny friendship story.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I feel like I've turned to romance at the moment in this, like, the movies that I'm watching and the songs I'm listening to and what I'm reading. I just want the comfort of a nice love story.
I agree. I'm leaning hard into romance and nostalgia. So anything that is kind of anything that is lovely from my adolescence, or that gives me a nice sense, not the awkward bits. So like last night I watched Mighty Ducks, and
amazing.
It is terrible, but I feel amazing about it. Yeah. And how has the process been writing that novel compared to Please Don't Hug Me?
I think because I felt like waste is not the right word, but I wrote a lot of words on Please Don't Hug Me, just rewriting. So after that, I kind of said in my mind that I would be a planner. I wouldn't be a pantser anymore, and that I would plan out the next book, and I would just have a really clean first draft and everything would be great. And there has been, I think, 4 completed manuscripts between the book that I'm working on now and Please Don't Hug Me, so along the way. And the ones that I tried to plan just didn't work. They felt like I was just sort of ticking along, getting to the next event, and there wasn't all of those big feelings that I like in a book, these big, awkward, vulnerable things. So I guess I tried different ways of going about it, and completely different stories as well. So I tried sort of just planning a little bit, or just writing and seeing how it went, but trying to hit plot points. But they were really hard. And so this one that I'm working on at the moment is the first one that's felt easy in terms of getting the words down.
Because you're pantsing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm the same. I'm a complete pantser, which I think for my editors is frustrating, who have to work out logistics for me or plot points
Yeah.
that I've missed in my kind of working it out. But yeah. And I think we should now have a quick chat about kind of the world as it is right now, and COVID, and maybe what you hope the kind of world looks like when we emerge from this.
Yeah, that's been the hardest thing, is not having an end date on it. Like, I'm such a person that needs planning, and change is awful. So it hasn't been ideal. Like, I think people think, oh, introverts love staying at home, but when it's under these conditions, it's not the norm. And I'm definitely not one to, I guess, put a ribbon around it and say it's so great, look at all the work that people are doing, because I think there's so much grief and trauma and uncertainty and financial stress and awful stuff. But I do think that accessibility wise, it's making people be innovative, and it's making events like this accessible to people that wouldn't normally be able to go along. Like, I think I live regionally, I have a small child, I'm autistic, so those kinds of things, they take a big toll. You know, not, if I've got to drive down to Brisbane and back, that's like 3 hours in the car, plus getting babysitting, plus all the big events that happen interstate in Melbourne and Sydney. So
yeah.
I hope that once face-to-face events pick back up, that we also get to have digital events that run, whether it's the next day or in line with the real life event. That would be really cool.
When we were talking yesterday, I liked when you said you've been more social during this period of time than normally, because of that accessibility for you to be able to attend things.
Yeah, it doesn't take as big a toll, I guess, on my energy levels to just come in and open my computer and join in with a bunch of bookish people talking about new books. It's been lovely. And then I just close the laptop and go to bed. It's so nice.
And you can wear your pajamas. So
yeah.
Happy
top and then pajamas and Ugg boots under the desk.
Not that that's what's happening for either of us now. No, of course. I want to remind everyone that we are going to ask some questions. I think we've got a couple that have come through that we might ask, but if you do have a question, send them, put it in the chat for Kay to ask. But Emma, do we want to go through some of those questions that have come through?
Yep, that sounds great. So we've also got a couple of comments, Kay, as well, I believe, from your family. The first is from Mark. Mark says, congratulations, Kay. So looking forward to reading your book. When will it be published in Europe and or on Kindle? Love, from Mark and Betty.
Thank you.
Yes, do you have a release date for Europe yet?
I do not, because the book fairs that they go to sell international rights didn't happen because of COVID. So I'm not sure how all of that looks and sits. That would probably be a better question for text, but hopefully soon. Hopefully we'll put a big box of books in the post and send them over, and it will take probably 6 months for them to get there, but yeah. To read it.
Crossed. Aoife says, we are all massive, Aoife St. John, we are all massively proud of Kay and Ireland and can't wait to read. Please don't hug me.
Oh, thank you.
I have a question from Joanna. Joanna says, as a 17-year-old on the autism spectrum, do you have any advice for how to tackle the later teenage years, early 20s? I'm struggling with the transition from high school to university, obviously not being helped by this whole COVID situation. And I would appreciate anything you think would be helpful or unhelpful.
Yeah, I think my own experience would probably be how not to do it. But I think if you can connect with the autism community online, that has been such a huge lifeline for me. Talking to people that are going through similar things. Twitter's been really good for that, and the hashtag actually autistic or asking autistics has been really good. So I think, and also I think scheduling downtime is something that's taken me 32 years to learn, that when you're in sort of the late teens and early 20s, your friends around you can often be really, really social, which is lovely and amazing, but that can be really tolling on your mental health. So I guess factoring in days when you don't do anything or don't see anyone, and just to recharge and to feel, I guess, a little bit more well equipped to go back out there and face the day. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. Cass has asked, can you talk a bit about the origin of the title?
That's a good question. Thanks, Cass. It wasn't called that. I just had, I think, I don't even remember what it was. It was just like a working title, like a placeholder title. And then I got to a certain section in the book, and you'll know it when you hit it, that is about the politics around hugging and how confusing that can be, and how it's different for everyone, and there's no universal rules around it, and people make up their own rules about it. And, you know, you can go to shake someone's hand and they'll say, I'm a hugger, and they'll hug you anyway. And so once I was writing that, that's kind of where the title came from. And once I had it, I felt like, yeah, it kind of gave the book the feeling that I was getting for it. Yeah, it really sort of pulled it all together.
Yeah. I've got several more comments coming through, so I'll read them all to you now. So we have Elisa Carmichael. Elisa says, congratulations, Kay. Loved your book and reliving all our precious memories together. So proud of you, Lacey. Lots of kisses. I have Heather Sherry, another Irish relative here. I downloaded the Kindle version yesterday, so that's good to know. Yep, it is. We've got the Kindle version, so sorry, I can't remember who asked me that earlier. Mark, but yeah, Mark, you can grab the Kindle version already. Kate Mildenhall said, congrats, Kay and Claire, an avid, great event.
Oh, thanks, Kate.
Heather Sherry, a massive congratulations from all the Athlone Sherrys. Once Sean's bar reopens, we will have one in your honour.
Thank you. I wish I was there. We'll be there soon, as soon as we can be.
Good work, Ireland, coming through.
Yeah, everybody's coming through. There's a few more. I'll try and get to them, but I'll ask another question if that's okay. I'm just conscious of the time. It's another one from Cass, and it's a really good one. How has motherhood changed the way you navigate your diagnosis?
I feel like that's another book. I feel like I really want to write about, and it's not something that I've been able to find much work on, is autism and motherhood. Because when you search and read about autism mums online, it's about mothers of autistic children, and it's usually their perspective on how parenting is for them, which is great, but it's, I guess, different, really different. I feel like there are things about parenting that I am better at because I'm autistic. I think my singular focus means that I can sit and play, and I'm not, I guess, drawn or distracted. I sort of can focus and play Lego for 4 hours if that's what I need to do, and really get into my kids' interests. And there are also things that are challenges, things like going to the playground and interacting with other parents is my idea of hell, really. So I'm really, really glad that I've had a group of friends who were my friends before I became a mum to hang out with, and for my kid to hang out with their kids, because that's just been so much better than trying to navigate new parenting friendships. And I think sensory overload definitely came into play with feeding and with really, really small kids, because I needed personal space that you don't always get from a really small person. But I think if you've got a supportive partner and you figure out what works for you and what works for your kid, it can be, amazing. I think that it makes me a great parent.
Awesome.
That's absolutely a book.
Yeah. Are you happy for me to carry on, Claire? Because we've got a few more. Both happy with that? Lovely. Okay, so Anna Waitley has said, I'm loving Please Don't Hug Me. Do you think you will always write own voice autistic characters?
Thanks, Anna. I think there are enough books out in the world that are all neurotypical characters, and I can't imagine a day when I would write a book that didn't have at least one autistic character. I feel like there's so many different experiences. The saying is, if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. So I'm so full with ideas of different autistic characters that I want to write. I can't imagine a day when I wouldn't write them, but I guess you never say never, because I hopefully will be doing this for a long time.
Lovely. I don't have a name here, sorry. I have a short username. A-chan has said, just wanted to send love and congratulations from Kay's friends on the Sunshine Coast. We are so proud of her and can't wait to get our copies of Please Don't Hug Me. Justin and Amy Lee say, love you, Kay, so proud to know you and itching to read. Have always itched to read anything you write. Jennifer says, thank you for hosting an accessible event, and also, yes, we need to have more literature about autistic mothers. So get on that next book.
Yeah.
List. Alison says, congratulations, Kay and team. Can't wait to read it. We have Mark Smith saying, welcome to the Texters, Kay. A huge congratulations on the new release. Jacinta says, congratulations, Kay. Your agents at Jacinta DeMay's management are all tuning in from rainy Melbourne and loving the chance to be part of your Avid launch.
Thanks, Jacinta.
Got a question from Jamie Lee Ray. Kay, I've learned so much from you already as a writer. What is your best advice for just getting started with writing a novel?
Oh, I definitely think Jamie Lee has a novel in her. I would say not to overthink it, not to just start putting words on pages and see where it leads you, because I think it's really easy to get into your own head and to psych yourself up. And when you're doing a first draft, it's not going to be comparable to a published book, because that has gone through so many more steps to get to that point. So if you've got a story that you think that you want to tell, I would say just get writing, and you can fix it afterwards in terms of what the sentences look like or how it reads. I would be so embarrassed if somebody read the first version of this book, and I'm glad that it doesn't exist out there anywhere for people to read. And yeah, I think it's perseverance and reading widely as well. Read within whatever genre it is that you want to write.
What was it like when you got the actual real life copy in the post in your hand?
Lovely Jane tried to send me a copy to the Blue Mountains because they arrived when I was down there. And because the post had just started going a little bit wonky with COVID, it didn't arrive. And then my box of books went missing for a little while as well. So I was like postman every day waiting for the book. And when I did get it, it was so nice. I think that's been the biggest moment for me, because it's a private moment. It's the moment before the book is out there and it's not mine anymore and it belongs to the readers. So when you get your first copy and look through it, especially dedications and acknowledgement pages, they still make me really emotional, and I feel like that was such a big thing to write and to put those words on the pages. So that's been, I think, my favorite. That and seeing the cover was another highlight, because that's when you kind of go, oh, it is real.
Yeah, I've just had that experience this week. Text have sent the first draft of the cover through, and it's a huge moment of kind of realizing that you've made a real life thing that has only been in your head, but now people are going to read it. It's a huge moment.
Yeah, and it can just be like you just look at your phone and then all of a sudden it's there on your email, and
yeah. I think, speaking of acknowledgements, is there anyone that you would like to acknowledge in this space or thank while we're here, or people just need to buy the book and read the beautiful words you wrote?
I have such a hard time with acknowledgements because I just get stressed that I'm going to forget someone. So I'll just say a big thank you to my family, my mum and dad, and my grandparents and all of my family that's tuned in. They've been so supportive, and I've been fairly cagey in talking about this book that I was writing for a long time until it was very well along in the publishing journey. So I've received nothing but love and support. It's been so good.
Brilliant.
Did you want a couple more comments?
Yeah, we may as well.
Yeah? Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we've got a few more, and I think 1 or 2 more questions. I'm just having to scroll through. Sorry, bear with me because it's a very small chat box. And then I'll hand back over to you, Claire. So we have Robin says, thank you to Kay, in brackets, and Anna. As the mother of a 14-year-old girl with ASD, having these books is a godsend. Daniela says, so proud of you. Sorry, Danielle Binks says, so proud of you, Kay. Jamie Lee Ray says, sending you a big hug from your old Redcliffe Herald crew. Amy, Georgia, Kylie, and Jamie Lee, and all the other crazy people too. We love you and are so proud of you. Shannon says, that is incredible advice in getting it down and not worrying about the first draft. I write picture books and generally pants those manuscripts. However, I am currently trying to write a chapter book for middle grade, and I'm struggling because I'm editing as I go. So thank you. And we have another question. Also, this is from Justin and Amy Lees. Did Don Tillman help you out? Give you hope? Would he and Erin be friends?
I read the first 2 Rosie books before I was diagnosed and loved them. They were amazing and hilarious. And Graham has been such a big supporter of my work. I did a reading at his launch for the Rosie Result last year. And I feel like the Rosie Result was an incredible, the way he dived into autism culture and community. I think he did an amazing job. Don's probably a bit older than Erin, so maybe they would connect over a shared interest, but they probably would be maybe a bit too awkward to strike up conversation with each other.
Do you think you and Erin would have been friends, Kay, in high school?
I feel like where she gets to the point of, I guess, self-acceptance and self-love and self-realization that she gets to by the end of that book at 17 is so much more advanced than where I was at that age. It took me a lot longer. So I would hope that I would get along with her. She definitely would have a few things to teach teen me.
Yeah.
Lovely. I think I've got through all of the questions and comments. If I have missed your comment or question, feel free to send it through. I think we've still got a few more minutes, as long as Claire and Kay are happy to do so. But yeah, otherwise I'll hand back to you both now for any final questions and comments.
Thanks. I guess my only final thing was to just check in with you, Kay, and see if there was anything else you wanted to add. You wanted people to know about the book or the process, anything that we haven't discussed?
I think the CYA conference is something that I definitely want to plug, because I feel like it's really accessible. Some events like that can be really expensive or really hard to get to. They're usually interstate. So having an event like that in Brisbane where you can have access to agents and editors and people and they've widened it as well now. So it's not just children and young adult fiction that they're looking at, it's adult fiction as well. So anybody that's wanting to get published and lives in Brisbane, I would look at the assessments and the meetings and things that you can have through that program.
It's children and young adults.
CYA conference, so children's and young adults conference.
Brilliant. Yeah. I guess the last thing I want to say is congratulations, and remind everyone to go and buy and read, and tell Kay on Instagram or Twitter how incredible she is. Tell the people in your life to buy the book, and also support your local indie bookstores right now, because We need them. We need them in our lives. We need our publishers in our lives so Kay and I can keep working.
Yeah.
So buy a book for mum next weekend. Thank you, Kay. You're amazing. This has been a really lovely chat. I wish you all the very best with the book, and I hope it goes off like I think it's going to.
Thank you so much. I should have said that about local shops as well, because we have so many amazing ones in and around Brisbane, and the Sunshine Coast, we lost our local bookshop a year or two ago, and that really kind of showed me what happens if you don't support your local bookshop. It just won't be there anymore. So yeah.
Over to you, Emma.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say thank you so much, both of you, Claire, Christian, and Kay Kerr, for a wonderful discussion tonight. Thank you also, Jane Pearson from Text. I'm going to unmute everybody now so that the audience can join me in thanking you. So, yes, thanks again for coming, and you're all going to be taken off mute now.
Yay!
Congratulations, Kay.
Congratulations, Kay.
Okay. Mama, how great she is. Back to Mama. There's Mama.
Couldn't sneak, you got
Gotta say something to Mama.
Thank you all for joining us. Have a lovely rest of the evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Congratulations
Kay.
again, Kay.
You're awesome, Kay.
Bye.
And your Mama.
Bye.